In breaking news, the Washington Post is reporting that the Department of Justice is finally looking into Donald Trump's actions both before and during January 6th, when his supporters rioted in the nation's capital. Now, this is something that the Justice Department has been urged to do. Merrick Garland, who is the Attorney General, seemed to be very hesitant in investigating Donald Trump specifically. But here's what we know so far. The Department of Justice is investigating the actions of former President Donald Trump in connection with criminal investigations relating to January 6th. And the Washington Post has cited 4 people familiar with the matter. And these 4 people say that prosecutors questioning witnesses before grand juries have inquired about conversations they've had with Trump. The witnesses include 2 top aides to former Vice President Mike Pence. So here are a few more details from the Post's reporting on this. They report that the prosecutors have asked hours of detailed questions about meetings Trump led in December 2020 and January of 2021. And keep in mind, I don't want people to get confused because there are multiple things happening simultaneously, right? So there's the House Select Committee doing its investigation. They're the ones who have been holding these public hearings that we've been covering. And then you have the Department of Justice, which is really the only body that has prosecutorial powers here. The January 6th committee can do the investigation and then refer criminal charges to the DOJ. And then it's really up to the DOJ to decide whether or not they're gonna pursue those criminal charges. So far, it's unclear whether there will be any criminal charges for Donald Trump. And to be clear, the current investigation is not a criminal investigation into Trump. The DOJ is simply asking questions about Trump's involvement through their criminal investigation of others tied to Trump or in Trump's orbit. People like Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, you guys get the picture. Now, the Post reports that the prosecutors have asked hours of detailed questions about meetings Trump led in both December of 2020 and January of 2021. His pressure campaign on Pence to overturn the election, and also what lawyers, what instructions Trump gave his lawyers and advisors about fake electors and sending electors back to the states. Some of the questions focused directly on the extent of Trump's involvement in the fake elector effort led by his outside lawyers, including John Eastman and Rudy Giuliani, these people said. So again, the report does not say that Trump is the target of a criminal probe, although he should be, but notes that investigators are currently interested in his behavior ahead of the storming of the Capitol. So, Waz, look, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like you're one of the lefties who thinks that this isn't that big of a deal. I'm just keeping it real. Like a lot of,
I'm not a big January 6th guy. I'm not. And it's not to say that I don't think that these guys should get in trouble, right? Like I think Trump and Giuliani and all of his cohorts should probably go to the pokey just the same way that the rest of these people, like the insignificant people who stormed the Capitol that day, they got jail sentences. Like these people got locked up. It's my belief that basically the people who were in charge, the people who should know better and should be doing better, I think they should get locked up too. But it's hard for me to be interested in this because I don't think anybody of any consequence is gonna face any serious repercussions from these bad acts. That's why it's hard for me to get into it. I do think people should be punished. I think Donald Trump should be disqualified from ever running for public office again. Like, look what this guy did while he was in the seat of power. He's obviously can't be trusted with any power or influence. However, I just find it hard to believe that anything is gonna come of this.
Yeah, to be honest, your views are shared by most people on the left, including like your average lib, right? Because we've been through I mean, this isn't our first rodeo. Like, we've been through this before.
How many times has this guy been investigated by how many different bodies? There's like, oh my God, those people in New York, the Southern District, New York, oh my God, those people don't play. They're gonna get Trump. It's gonna be Mueller. It's gonna be this. It's like, how many investigations this guy comes out on the end pretty much unscathed every single time. So like, the worst that he's gotten is like the fines for the fake Trump colleges like that, right? Like, he's faced some damages, but when it comes to his time both pursuing political office and his time during his presidency, nothing's come of any of these quote unquote investigations.
Yeah, and honestly, I think what we've seen happen that's actually been pretty effective has been these these public January 6th committee hearings. And I didn't think they would have an effect, although we've seen it have an effect on Trump's popularity, to the point where now Ron DeSantis is being touted by Republican voters more than they're touting Trump. And I didn't think that day would really come, right? Like, I always thought Trump supporters are so loyal, they'll support him no matter what. Now you're seeing a pretty significant portion of the Republican base kind of transition over to Ron DeSantis. And I think that is part of, I think that's partly the outcome of how effective those hearings have been. But also, I think it's Trump's own doing. Like, who wants to support like a giant man baby who's constantly like, I don't like that I lost. I mean, you cover sports, right? Yeah. And there's nothing more grating than a bad loser.
Yeah, than a sore loser. Absolutely.
Loser. And that's what Trump is. It's embarrassing. Like, who wants to support that guy? Like, even if you agree with him politically, like, his behavior is so embarrassing.
Yeah, and I see the salience in it for the Dems, especially because this kind of thing does turn off the suburban voter. You're hearing about how they're gaining in support from suburban white college educated women every single day. Like, this kind of thing does bother them. And these are the people that the Democrats seem to want more than anybody anyway.
Yep.
Right. So this kind of thing does work. The reason why, people like me and Anna roll our eyes about it is that like these, upper middle class type of voters, professional class type of voters tend to be the most reactionary of any voter, right? Like, they're not gonna always be solidly Democrat because most of their needs are met on a day-to-day basis. So they tend to vote on different type of things that they change with the wind because their economic interests rarely ever change to anything by virtue of their station in our society, right? And so this has the effect of, endearing the Bidens and the Kamalas, like who seem like competent college graduate professional people who that cohort seems to like. And Trump, he ain't that. He is not professorial.
No, he's not. He's not. My one other thing I just want to mention quickly is while I think they've been doing a good job with these hearings and the investigation, I can't help but feel concerned about the fact that this seems to be one of the campaigning tactics by the Democratic Party, right? They like to hang their hat on this type of stuff for campaigning purposes in lieu of a sound and serious substantive economic policy, right? Like if they were touting that instead of like hanging their hat simply on Trump is a bad guy, Republicans are bad people, don't vote for them because they're bad. Okay, but like what are you offering me, right? So I worry about that as well. But again, overall, I do think that the hearings have been successful. We'll see what the outcome of this DOJ investigation will be. But I think even with this breaking news story, you see red flags because they're very careful to note that he's not the target of the criminal investigation, but he's like the center of the whole scheme to overturn the results of the presidential election. So to say that he's not the target of the criminal investigation, I think is indicative of what we see from the DOJ in terms of holding people in positions of power accountable.
And another thing that I think bears mentioning here is the Obama administration, where they basically come in and they say, we're not looking at the past. Like presidents don't really get locked up for presidenting. You know, like when it comes to WMDs in Iraq, which we all knew was a lie. When it comes to torture, like straight up being the author and the perpetuators of the torture regime, straight up acknowledged international crimes committed against people. Barack and them came in and said, oh, nah, we get it. Those are obviously clearly criminal acts, but when you're a president, you basically can't break the law. And so that's why I find it hard to believe that something's gonna happen to Donald Trump here by way of like actual punishment, man. Like, I don't know how like the mechanism would be to be like, you know what, you just can never run for public office again. But they're definitely not gonna put this guy in the pokey. That's just,
I don't think so either. I don't think so. I would be shocked. I mean, this is one of those cases where I really, really hope that we're both proven wrong. But I think our predictions are sound. So we'll fill you guys in as we learn more about this, but that's what we've got for now.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.